Okay, hi, hello, hi, English readers, and welcome to a new live session of Daisy Jones and the Six at Lydie's Book Club. I'm Lydie Bureau, and I'm an English teacher in France. I'm also the founder of Lydie's Book Club, in which I host live readings of adaptations of classics of English literature and contemporary novels. And once a week, I meet the members of the book club in a live workshop by Zoom to discuss the chapters of the book that we are currently reading. In this book club, I also tend to prioritize books that are written by women. And this month, we are reading the contemporary novel Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's a C1 or advanced level, so because it's the original text. So if you are quite comfortable with English and if you're more or less fluent and you like reading, then you might like this novel. It's a very easy read, especially if you are not used to reading in English. If you like rock bands and the 70s, then you might like this book. And yeah, with this novel, so we've done already two sessions. Today's the third session of the live reading. So over this 3 weeks, I'm hosting 11 live reading sessions on Instagram, and you are you'll be able to watch these live. If you're not able to attend the lives on Instagram, then you can rewatch those lives on YouTube here on my channel, and also on Spotify with the podcast with my podcast called Reading English. So if you are if you prefer listening to live readings instead of using YouTube, then this can be a good alternative. I personally, when I drive or when I don't know, I'm cooking or something, I quite like to just listen and not being just distracted by the video. And it's much more user friendly listening with Spotify podcast than YouTube. I've tried both. I've tried listening to live reading or live readings actually on not live but recorded readings on YouTube, and it's not as practical as Spotify. So that's why I make a point in making my videos available on Spotify. So in addition to these 11 live reading sessions, I will host 3 live workshops on Daisy Jones and the Six this month, so that you'll be able to practice your English and share your thoughts on the novel and join the book club as well. So there is the first session this Saturday. So to have access to these live workshops, you have to become a member of the book club. So make sure you subscribe now by following the link in the video. And I'm also very excited to announce that from this week, you will be able to purchase the 3-part live workshop on White Teeth, the book that we read last month. This one here. This is a workshop based on the adaptation of the novel. So if you're expecting to discuss the whole book, well, this is not a workshop on the original text. It's a workshop on the adaptation. It's aimed at people having a B2 upper intermediate level. So that's just for your information, but I'm sure that even though it's an adaptation and there are missing parts, but the essence of the book and the overall topics, all the main topics are actually well represented or well highlighted in this adaptation. So our conversation went way beyond the novel. So yeah, have a go and try. This way you have an idea of what it's like to be part of the book club. Yeah, and what it's like to discuss the book and how the workshop works. Today, this is the third live reading session on Daisy Jones and the Six, and we are going to read pages 43 to 48. So it's going to be quite a short session today. And this section of the book is called It Girl, and it's from 1972 to 1974. So in the course of 2 years. And if you'd like to know more about Taylor Jenkins Reid and her novel, Daisy Jones and the Six, if you want to get an overview of what the novel is about, then I invite you to listen to the podcast episode 22, an introduction to Taylor Jenkins Reid and Daisy Jones and the Six. And it's available here on YouTube or on Spotify as well. Okay, so as I usually do, I'm going to do a quick recap on the chapter that we read yesterday, The Rise of the Six. So that was yesterday's session. And in this session, it was mainly focused on the genèse of the origins of the band The Six, which was called the Dunne, which started as the Dunne Brothers Band, because it initially started with Billy Dunne and Graham making this bonding together to create this band. So Graham was the lead guitar and Billy Dunne the lead singer and singer-songwriter, quite from the start. So these two brothers were raised by a single mother, and they suffered, mainly Billy suffered from this father who abandoned them, just left one day. And there is a very striking scene where Billy is and his band, so Billy, Graham, and at this point Warren Rhodes, the drummer, had joined the two of them. They were still called the Dunne Brothers, and they were playing at this wedding, and Billy recognized, see this guy, this 50-something guy dancing with a 20-year-old girl, and he's like, oh, come on, what this man is doing with this young girl. And he realized that it was his dad. He recognized him and continued playing and waited that maybe their father would recognize them, but he didn't. And he got really pissed off, really angry at this man who was their dad and wasn't even able to recognize them, and not even recognize their voice or anything. Obviously he left when they were still very young, so you change a lot. But for Billy, it's something that is hard to fathom, how a father is not able to recognize his own children, his own sons. So it's something that Billy is going to to drag with him. It's going to be a broken part in his life that never really going to be fixed or healed. So that really affected him. And that's at this very same wedding, it's when he meets Camilla. She was a cocktail waitress. At the end of the wedding, he sees her in the lobby, or somewhere in the lobby, in the hotel lobby, and he gives her his number, as one should do, and what they would do at the time. And they started dating, and Billy felt something different with her. He was a real womanizer. I mean, he had a lot of success with women, but with Camilla, it was different. It felt himself with her. He felt like she made him better. And he said that I used to say that I was broken. I was born broken, and she was born whole. It's very beautiful. And he made this song. He wrote this song called Born Broken. That's very beautiful. Then we've got a new addition to the band. Eddie Loving, Pete's brother, joins the band. But instantly, from the first moment he comments in the novel here, in his first appearance, we sense that that he really didn't have a say in the band, that he just had to do what he was told. And it seems like he's a bit bitter about this, and he's not really happy with that, which is quite understandable. But it's kind of bitter in a way that it says that. And then we learn that Chuck died soon after he enrolled in the Vietnam War, where he didn't decide to enroll. He was just, his number was picked, as they would do in the US at the time. There was this lottery, this service system lottery, and it fell on Chuck, and he died soon after he enrolled in the war. It's quite sad here. And it takes back the story to its historical context, and very violent context at the time, because the Vietnam War was happening. And this generation, young generation, didn't want to be part of it. So we can read that Billy and Graham, for example, wanted to help Chuck avoid the war, being enrolled in the war, wanted to help him to find a way for him to avoid being sent there. But yeah, it seems like he went anyway. And then a second edition, another, not a second, but another addition to the band is Karen, the keyboardist, Eddie Loving with the rhythm guitar, and Karen is the keyboardist. They met her while they were playing in, they started touring or playing different places, and they met this girl. She was playing for the Winters, and they really got on well with her. And actually, Graham, more specifically, was very into her, and instantly offered, encouraged, or just got the idea to have her in the band. And Karen actually quickly joined the band, so she didn't waste any time to join the band, because she was sick of being in her actual band, the Winters, because apparently everyone wanted to try to slip with her. So here, and she was sick of that. She just wanted to be a musician, and that shows here the topic here in this novel about how women were treated in the music industry in the 70s, and the fact that they were not taken seriously, and but more like someone that they could just lurk in the band and take advantage. Yeah. And she liked the fact that she got on quite well with Camilla, and in a way I think that she got reassured by the presence of Camilla in the band as well. Yeah. And soon after Karen's joined the band, this is when they decided, they started thinking of a new name. And there are two versions here in which Eddie says that it's him who had the idea of being called the Six, and Karen has a slight different version in which basically it's herself who got the idea, who well, she doesn't says it like that, but it seems like, yeah. Well, we're not really sure, but it came about from Karen, sort of, where she called this a booker in Philadelphia, and then the idea came there at this point. So after that, they met their manager, Rod Rice, who started managing the band. And this is where they started touring a little bit everywhere in America. So they moved quite a lot. Well, this is when the band started, the success of the band started to kick off. So Billy and Camilla at that point didn't see much of each other. Camilla was mainly at her parents'. She couldn't follow them all the time, and they decide after that, the band decides to move to LA because it was where everything was happening. It was the place to be at the time. And then Billy asked her if she wanted to come with them. And Camilla wasn't really sure, and that she didn't want just to follow them around like a little puppet. So they broke up. And Billy did not want to give up and just couldn't stay there. He wanted to experience this this thing. So yeah, they broke up. They were miserable. They missed each other a lot, and they started gigging, playing gigs in LA. And this is where there is a page here, page 36, in which they discuss, they mentioned a lot about, they talk a lot about dress code and how, and they talk about their dress code evolution, how they used to be dressed, and how important it was. You can see how the dress code was very meaningful. Yeah, so meaningful at the time. And there is a like an emancipation or something, like they grow in a way into something. They start having a new new identity. They're building their new identity here, being influenced by LA and all the rock bands at the time. And this is where they met Teddy Price, the producer of the label Runner Records, and they signed their first record deal then. And when they have this amazing opportunity, then Billy, what the first thing that came to his mind is to call Camilla and to announce her that, well, he didn't really announce it, but he just wanted to tell her or to talk to her. And when she picked up the phone, he proposed. So it's really beautiful how it's written. They're both she said, "I miss you too." And I said, what are we doing this for? We're supposed to be together. And she said, yeah, I know. And we were both quiet on the line. And I said, if I had a record contract, would you marry me? And she said, what? And he repeats again the same question. And she's like, what? You did record deal? And he asked again, will you marry me? And then she said yes. And then she asked him, oh, so did you get a record deal? And he said yes. So yeah, and they just decided to get married. And well, he asked her to come over to LA. Let's get hitched. Right. Okay, let's read now back to probably Daisy Jones' story. Yeah, Daisy Jones. Yeah, and a bit of Simone as well. Okay, let's start reading it now. Determined to make a name for herself outside the Sunset Strip, Daisy Jones started writing her own songs, armed only with a pen and paper, and no musical training whatsoever. Daisy created a songbook that soon grew into include rough sketches of over 100 songs. One night during the summer of 72, Daisy attended a Mi Vida show at the Ash Grove. She was dating Mi Vida from frontman. She was dating Mi Vida frontman Jim Blades at the time. Me wieder, yeah. Toward the end of the set, Jim invited Daisy onto the stage to do a cover of Son of a Preacher Man with the band. Simone. Daisy had grown her hair out, her hair out really long by then. Gotten rid of her bangs. She always wore hoop earrings, you know, those big earrings like that, hoop earrings. And she never wore shoes. She was just very cool. That night at the Ash Grove, she and I were sitting in the back, and Jim tried to get her to go up there, and she kept saying no, but he kept at it most of the night, and eventually Daisy got on that stage. Daisy. It was a surreal feeling. All of those people looking at me, expecting something to happen. Simone. When she started singing with Jim, she was kind of timid about it, which surprised me. But I could feel her getting more and more into it as the song went on. And then somewhere around the second chorus, she just let it rip. She was smiling, she was happy up there, and people couldn't take their eyes off her. By the time they got toward the end, Jim had stopped singing and just let her go. She brought the house down. Jim Blades, the lead singer of Mi Vida. Daisy had this incredible voice. It was gritty, but never scratchy. You'd have thought she had rocks in her throat that the sound had to travel over. It made everything she sang complex and interesting, and kind of unpredictable. I've never had such a voice myself. You don't have to have a great voice to be a singer if your songs are good enough. But Daisy had the whole thing going, man. But Daisy had the whole thing going, man. She was always thinking from deep in her belly. It takes people years to learn something like that. And Daisy just did it naturally. Did it singing in the car next to you or folding the laundry. Was always trying to get her to sing with me, and she always said no until that night at the Ash Grove. I think she finally agreed to sing in public because of how bad she wanted to be a songwriter. I told her, the biggest thing your songs have going for them is that you might sing them. Her biggest asset was that people couldn't take their eyes off her. I told her to use that. Daisy. I felt like Jim was basically saying that nobody cared what I was singing about, as long as they could get a good look at me. Jim always made me mad. So you see how you see two perspectives here on how Jim wanted her to get on stage and encourage her, and how Daisy felt like he was pushing her to be on stage just because she was good looking, and not because her songs were of good quality. If memory serves, Daisy threw her lipstick at me. But when she calmed down, she asked me where she should try to play some gigs. Daisy. I wanted to get my songs heard, so I started singing a bit around LA. I sing a few of my songs, do some stuff with Simone. Greg McGinnis. Greg McGinnis, remember, is the guy, the concierge, the former concierge of the Wyatt House Hotel. You know, Daisy was dating everybody. Like, man, when that fight broke out between Tick Yoon and Larry Hapman outside Licorice Pizza, and Tig busted Larry's eyebrows open. That was crazy. That was crazy stuff. I was there. I'd been buying my Dark Side of the Moon LP. So when was that? Late 72, maybe early 73. I looked outside and Tig's got Larry in a headlock. People said they were fighting over Daisy. Plus, I'd heard Dick Poller and Frankie Bates had both tried to get her to record a demo and she turned them down. Daisy. Suddenly, there were so many people trying to convince me to do a demo. All these guys wanted to be my manager, but I knew what that meant. LA is full of men just waiting for some naive girl to believe their bullshit. Hank Allen was the least smarmy. He was the one that I could tolerate the most. By that point, I had moved out of my parents' house and into the Chateau Marmont, the famous place in LA where all the cool people and then all the bands, cool bands and famous people would hang out in the 70s. I'd rented a cottage in the back. It still exists. Yeah, and it's very, it has a lot of history and it's almost like a landmark to visit in LA if you're a music fan. Hank Allen was the least smarmy. He was the one that I could tolerate the most. By that point, I had moved out of my parents' house and into the Chateau Marmont. I'd rented a cottage in the back, and Hank was at my door all the time, leaving messages. He was the only one not just talking about me, but also about my songs. I said, all right, if you want to manage me, you can manage me. Simone, when I met Daisy, I was the older, wiser, cooler one. But by the early 70s, Daisy was it. I remember I was in her room at the Marmont one time, and I'm looking in her closet, and I see all these Halston wraps and jumpsuits. I said, when did you get all these Halstons? And she said, oh, they sent them over. I said, who did? She said, somebody at Halston. This was a girl that hadn't ever released a song, a single piece of work. No album, no single, but she was in the magazines, in photos with rock stars. Everybody loved her. I took some of those Halstons though. It's interesting how little attention Daisy paid about those clothes and about being famous. Really, that wasn't the point for her. And yeah, she really didn't care about that. Daisy. I went over to Laramie Sound to record the demo Hank wanted me to record. I think it was a Jackson Browne song. Hank wanted me to sing the song really sweet, and I wasn't feeling it. I sang in the way I wanted to, a little bit rough, a little bit breathy. Hank said, can we please just do one take where you sing it smooth, maybe a key higher? I grabbed my purse and said, nope, and I left. Simone. She got signed to Renault Records right after that. So the same record label as the Six. Daisy. I didn't care about anything but songwriting. The singing was okay, but I didn't want to be some puppet up there, singing other people's words. I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to sing my own stuff. Simone. Daisy doesn't value anything that comes easy to her. Money, looks, even her voice. She wanted people to listen to her. Daisy. I signed the deal with Renault Records, but I didn't read the contract. I didn't want to read contracts and pay attention to who I was supposed to pay, what money to, and what was expected of me. I wanted to write songs and get high. That's straight to the point, but a little bit naive in a way, because it's better to know what you sign. But at the time, you don't really think through. She's barely in her 20s. Simone. They scheduled her for a kickoff meeting, and I went over to her place and we put together the perfect outfit. Went through her songbook to get it just right. When she left to go over there that morning, she was walking on air. She was walking on air. But however many hours later, she showed up at my place and I could tell something was wrong. I said, "What's going on?" And she just shook her head and walked right past me. She went into my kitchen, grabbed the bottle of champagne we'd bought to celebrate, popped it open, and walked into my bathroom. I followed her in there. She was running herself a bath. She stripped off her clothes and got in the tub, took a swig right from the bottle. And took a swig right from the bottle. I said, "Talk to me, what happened?" She said, "They don't care about me." I guess at the meeting, they had handed her a list of songs they expected her to do, and it was stuff from the catalog. Leaving on a stuff from the catalog, living on a jet plane, kind of stuff. I said, "What about your own songs?" She said, "They don't like my songs." Here again, we see the treatment of women in the music industry. How as well. Daisy. They read through my entire book and I couldn't find one song in there. Not one song they thought I should record. I said, "What about this one and this one and this one?" I was at that conference table with Rich Palantino, and I was flipping through that book, panicked. I was thinking they must not have read them. They just kept saying the songs weren't ready yet, that I wasn't ready to be a songwriter. Simone. She got drunk in the tub, and all I could do was just make sure that when she passed out, I pulled her out and put her in bed, which is what I did. Daisy. I got up the next morning and went back to my own place, tried to put it out of my mind by laying by the pool. Because at the Chateau Marmont there is a pool. When that didn't work, I smoked a few cigarettes, did a few lines in my cottage. Hank came over and tried to calm me down. I said, "Get me out of this." And he kept telling me I didn't want to get out of it. I said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "No, you don't." I got so mad, I ran out of my own place faster than Hank could catch me. I drove right over the Renault Records. I was in the parking lot before I realized I was still in a bikini top and jeans. I went right into Rich Palantino's office and ripped up the contract. Rich just laughed and said, "Hank called and said you might do that. Honey, that's not how contracts work." Bastard. Simone. Daisy was Carole King. She was Laura Nyro. Hell, she could have been Joni Mitchell. And they wanted her to be Olivia Newton-John. So here, those are famous singers and singer-songwriter from the time. Daisy. Maybe you know Joni Mitchell. She's she's the one that is mainly famous still to this day. A lot of people refer to her as an inspiration. Carole King, I'm less familiar with her. Laura Nyro as well. And Olivia Newton-John, not really. Daisy. I went back to the Marmont. I'd been crying. I had mascara running down my face. Hank was waiting for me, sitting on my stoop. He said, "Why don't you sleep it off?" I said, "I can't sleep. had too much Coke and too many Dexes. Dexes, probably pills. He said he had something for me. I thought he was going to hand me a collude, like that was going to do it, like that was going to do anything. But he gave me a secono. I was out like a light. I woke up feeling much better. No hangover, nothing. For the first time in my life, I was sleeping like a baby. That's probably a pill to sleep. From then on, it was Dexys to get through the day, Reds to get through the nights, champagne to wash it all down. The good life, right? Except the good life never made for a good life. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That's the end of the chapter here. Of this third session, actually. So here we see the it girl term take its all meaning. We see that she represented the it girl at the time. This, I don't know if you're familiar with this expression, or that, well, this phenomenon of it girl is, you know, those has been used mainly in the late 1990s with Kate Moss and all the top top models at the time. But it started with Kate Moss, really. And here she's using this 90s term to for Daisy, basically, and what she represented at the time. And this, well, now it girl is, we're not really using it anymore. Not quite. It used to be very popular in the late 90s, then in the 2000s. There are other top models who it was those girls like Kate Moss, or I don't know who comes, Alexa Chung, were those there were models, top models. Well, Alexa Chung wasn't a top model, but there were models who would hang out with rock stars, and so that was, would go to Glastonbury or Coachella. So those were the it girls at the time. But this term, I see less of it now when we think about famous people. I see it less in the news, or yeah, now we talk about influencers, I guess. Influences. So yeah, anyway, Daisy Jones here struggles with becoming a songwriter, of being taken seriously as a songwriter. They just want her to be a singer, and shut your mouth, just do as you're told. So you see how, even though she was in the scene, we could consider it that she had it easy for her. She was beautiful. She had parents that were artists, a mother that was a model, so money wasn't probably probably an issue. So you would think that she had it all easy, but, well, knowing the fact that she was left on her own from a very young age, that's not the ideal when you start your life. But it's where you see that sometimes better to be in a very isolated, very, very remote part of a country, of America, of your own country, any country, and being surrounded by love and support, then being this kind of very one would say very favorable kind of environment, and very privileged social circle, and social, yeah, background. But you feel that that's not enough in a way, because she had to work hard and she had to fight for her work to be recognized and be respected, and for her desire to be respected. But she was young and she signed this contract, and she was bound to it in a way. So she didn't pay attention to this, and yeah, she's going to pay the price as well. Even though she didn't fall into all the traps that she could have fell into, when you had all these men who wanted to be her manager, but she refused, and she chose tried to choose wisely, but with Renault Records, yeah, it wasn't a smart move for her. But at some point you have to give in a little bit, in a way, if you want to become someone. Or yeah, and this, when you're 20, you don't know everything. You can't surely know about contracts, yeah, commitments that you have to do. Yeah, so that was it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this live session today, and make sure that you subscribe to the book club if you want to join the workshop and discuss more about the novel. Remember that from this week, you'll be able to purchase the 3-part live workshop of White Teeth on my website store. You can just click on the link and you will land on the website store page. I wish you a beautiful end of the day, and I will see you tomorrow for part, not tomorrow, sorry, what am I saying? I will see you on Friday for the 4th session of this live reading. We will read page 51 to 76. So it's going to be a longer session, and a lot to learn about, yeah, what's next, what's going to happen next. Bye bye.